I always get asked, living in Sweden, is why Sweden? Why did I choose to come to Sweden? So here's my story, and I hope you enjoy it. So when I was in college, I had a roommate from Turkey, and I lived in a house with four other guys. And through him, I just met all these people all from Europe. Even the year before, I was kind of interested in Europe. I was interested in like electronic music. I started playing FIFA all the time, the FIFA football game, and because of the time zone difference, when I would come home from school about 4 o'clock in the U.S. time, 4 p.m., I could watch football. So I got really into the sport football, watching the English Premier League, watching the Italian League, the German League, and just watching all these players and playing the game and learning all about the teams. I found it to be very interesting. I also found that I was really into electronic and house music because I love to run. So through there I started learning all kinds of different groups and bands. And the funny thing is, actually my favorite group at the time, or my favorite DJ at the time, was Basshunter. To this day I still love Basshunter. I love his energy and his songs. Russian Privyet is one of my favorite. And the funny thing is, I had no idea that that was even Swedish. So anyways, through my friend, I met so many people. I met people from Norway, Germany, France, and it just really opened my eyes to this whole other world out there. You know, I think in America, we kind of live in a gigantic bubble, and it's not our fault, and it's not on purpose. It's just the simple fact that America is so big, and it's such a big distance you have to travel to see other countries. So I'm from Pennsylvania, and you know, it's a long drive to get to Canada or Mexico. So that was starting to get my interest in music, and I was studying education at the time. Interest in music and interested in traveling. So through that experience, I had my sister. She went to, she had friends in Australia, so she went to Australia for a month. And one of my roommates in college, of the guys I lived with, he went to New Zealand for a semester. And just talking to him on Skype and hearing about his journey, I realized that, wow, I had never traveled abroad. I had never been to another country, and what a shame that really was. That was really a life goal of mine. So I realized that because of my degree that I had in college, it was quite possible for me to move to another country. I also realized that moving to another country by yourself might be just a really positive thing to do. It would be a challenge, of course, and I understood that, you know, being away from my family and friends. But I knew that it could also help develop you as a person and show you that there's more out there, give you opportunities to travel. So I started looking and researching when I was in my final semester at school at options and places I could go. I was applying for jobs to different countries, and I saw that there was a company that was doing interviews in a city about 2.5 hours from where I lived. And it was in Sweden, so I thought that this was a really big possibility. Okay, I could get a job in Sweden if I just work with this, if I get more interest. So what I did anyways is I bought 3 different books on Amazon that talked about Sweden, and I was reading these books. At this time, I was working as a car salesman, which was really cool. I wanted to try something out like that, and so I was reading about Sweden. So before I even had my job interview, I had a month before the job interview, I knew about the time that, Sweden switched from driving on the same side of the road as England to the right side of the road without any incident in the 1960s. I knew about Jantelagom and Lagom and learned that, and I always thought that was really interesting and fascinating that, that the Vikings back in the day, where they would all take a drink and they would, Lagom just means that they would take a drink, but there would be enough for everybody else, and I found that to be really cool. Sweden seemed like a fascinating society, and it seemed like a really good place to work and experience. And like I said, I had met friends in Norway, and so I was already interested in Scandinavia. So I went to the job interview, and they seemed to like me, and then they contacted me about a month later and said, how would you like to come to Sweden? And I was like, let's do this, let's go. I mean, I was really excited in the job interview as well, and I think I demonstrated that I had learned a lot about Sweden before even coming here. So I was really proud to get a chance to move here. And it was really interesting too, because it was my first international flight that I've ever taken It was my first time ever flying by myself. And, you know, it's funny how things work out, because I got to New York City, which is like New York's probably one of the worst places to ever fly out of, because most planes are delayed. And for me to fly from where I'm from in Pittsburgh to get to where I am in Sweden, it takes a long time and usually multiple planes. So as soon as I got to New York, I found that I had missed my flight. There was no way. My next flight was delayed by like 16 hours. Luckily, by chance, and this is how life works out, one of the guys that I've known since I was younger, he works as a flight attendant, and I found out that he was going to be on that same flight from Pittsburgh to New York. So when we were there together, he was going to kind of help me out to just show me where to go, since I was flying by myself. But we saw that my flight was delayed, so he was able to kind of get ahead of the line and talk to somebody to get me to Sweden, because I said I had to get here for work, and I ended up having to fly to London. So as soon as I knew I was going to fly to London, I realized that none of my luggage was going to make it. I wasn't going to have my luggage. They said, hey, your luggage is not going to make it. But I wanted to get to Sweden and not be at the airport for 24 hours or 16 hours, whatever it was. So I flew to London, and as soon as I'm getting ready to fly out to London, the flight gets delayed, and I realize while I'm on a plane, wow, I'm probably going to miss my next flight. So that's what happened. I got to London, found out I missed my next flight, and I met this guy from Australia. He was coming to Sweden, and we were able to talk and hang out for a good bit, and we were both in the same situation. So he helped me out, and we flew to Stockholm together. And I had a train ride I had to take after Stockholm to get to where I am in Sweden. And when I finally got to Sweden, I had been awake, I think, for 36 hours to almost 40 hours straight. I was more exhausted than I ever been, because I can't sleep on an airplane. I've tried before. I just can't fall asleep. It's too uncomfortable for me. So when I finally got to Sweden, he was nice enough, because his friend was picking me up at the airport, to give me a ride to Stockholm Central Station, and he helped me figure out how to take a train, which, I mean, now seems so easy, but at the time, I mean, it's very confusing, because I find Europe and the United States to be so much different. Like, everything's different the first time around, but once you've been in Europe for a while traveling, I mean, it all starts to feel the same. So he helped me out. I got on the train, and to this day, I swear, I don't know if I was just too jet lagged or not, but I was like looking in the nature, and I swear that I saw a moose. Now, it could have been lack of sleep, I don't know, but to this day, I think it was I saw a moose. And the funny thing about the story in the end is I was supposed to meet up with someone else who was also going to work with me in Sweden, but I was supposed to get there like 15 hours before he did. Well, anyways, we were going to meet at this hotel. We were going to stay at the same hotel. By the time I got off the train and got to the hotel I needed to get to, he got there at the same time. I was walking down to the reception, and he was right behind me. We were on the exact same train. To this day, I think it's really, really cool. So, last thing about this is I didn't have any of my luggage. I never realized before until I started traveling, especially when you're moving, that your luggage is like kind of your identity. There's something very freeing about not having your stuff. There's something very freeing about moving, but I didn't have my running shoes. I didn't have clothes, so I had to go shop and in Sweden to buy some clothes and buy some new things, and luckily I was able to get reimbursed by the airport. It was very stressful, like missing flights, having such a long flight, but I will say that what I've found is when things go wrong, you kind of learn how to make it work. So I feel more confident that as I travel and fly, okay, if something happens, if I miss my luggage or my plane gets delayed, I know the drill. I know what I have to do, and I know what to expect, and that's just part of traveling and something you have to accept. So it took me a good week to get my stuff, and when I finally got my stuff, I started to feel like I was at home and I could finally start relaxing. So that was about 5 years ago. And that's my story on why I decided to come to Sweden. I get asked this question all the time, and I hope that you found this video to be interesting. With this channel, I'm going to continue to keep doing stuff with music, playing music, because my main goal here is to get my music out there. But I also want to give you my life experiences and at least a vlog a little bit about what it's like traveling to another country by yourself, what it's like maybe coming to Sweden or just Europe in general. I hope you find this interesting if you are from Sweden or Europe and you're hearing this, and you can see what I think about maybe this country or just traveling in general and how my opinions and things change over time. So this is, I guess, story one. So this is why I came to Sweden. And I'm thinking a couple times a month, I'll give you like a vlog or tell you stories about my journey. So this would be story number 1 on that. And if you are interested in traveling, doing international travel, interested in moving to another country, no matter where you're from, I encourage it. There are positives and negatives that I can bring up in another video, but overall I'm very happy that I took this step and tried to do this. If you like this story, please give me a thumbs up below, and also please subscribe to me. If you look in the bottom links, you'll also see links to my music as well, and that's a way you can support me. If you want to go, how can I support you? You can listen to my music, you can share it as well. So, I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and thank you for listening to my story.